Hey all my sassy fly peeps, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time tuning in, you're tuning in to my series on how to become a flight attendant, the flight attendant life. This is episode 2, how to effectively transition or prepare yourself to become a flight attendant from whatever career you're coming from. First thing first, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, make sure you click that subscribe button because you don't want to miss the tea because I'm sharing it all, no holds barred. Now, if this is really the career that you really want to go into, you've got to be prepared because it is not like your normal 9 to 5, okay? It's a pretty big transition. So, the first thing that I believe that we need to do, because I had to do exactly what I'm telling you, you should do. The first thing you need to do is evaluate. It's important to evaluate whether quitting your current job or your 9 to 5 is what you really want to do. I recommend, and I did do it, is you write down the pros and cons to quitting your job. You write down the pros and cons to being a flight attendant and what you really expect to get out of it and what do you really want. We all want the flying privileges, yeah. We all want to fly for free, yeah. But you got to be always thinking about the bigger picture. So that's why I recommend you writing down the pros and cons so you can prepare yourself. Another thing that I recommend you do is to evaluate your support system. I'm not saying that everybody has to join the board and be down with you becoming a flight attendant. But you at least want to have someone that's going to say, okay, yeah, that sounds dope. I support you. Because let's be honest, the transition is pretty big in the sense that you're going to be leaving home, you're going to be going to training, and you're going to want to at least, trust me, you're going to want at least to call somebody when you have to take those tests and you're like, man, this is stressful. So you definitely want to evaluate those two things. All right, now that we got step 1 out the way, the most important step of them all to me, this is my most important step, is step 2. Step 2 is organize. You want to organize your current bills that you already have. And you want to, when I mean organize, I mean sit down and write down the bills that you have. And let me explain why. Because when you leave to go to training and you getting ready to become a flight attendant and we're all excited, you have to remember becoming a flight attendant is just like your ordinary job to an extent. You're going to be in the hole. Not every company or every airline is going to pay you for training. So you're going to be in the hole. So like I said, step 2 is organize. Try to focus on eliminating the bills that you don't need. The bills that you don't need. Okay, story time. This is just a story time from my experience. When I first decided I wanted to become a flight attendant, I had my own condo, I had my own car, I was paying payments. I mean, I had credit cards, I was doing good. I was just fine with doing what I was doing. But I knew logically, if I'm gonna go off to training for a month, it's no way I'm about to pay a whole rent while I'm in training. You mean to tell me you want me to keep my condo and still pay for the month and I wasn't there for the month? That's just not gonna happen. So what I have to do, like I'm recommending you do, is to eliminate as many bills as you can as possible. And the best way to do it is to write it down. Because if you can eliminate having this apartment, then the better off. Or let's say, for example, you don't want to get rid of your apartment. Then I recommend getting a roommate or maybe an Airbnb. Something that you won't have to come out the pocket and spend so much money on because it's going to be not possible. You're going to be stressed out. And you don't want to be stressed out trying to figure out how you're going to pay this and this and this bill because you're away at training. For some people, this is like talking in circles. And that's fine. But for some people, they may need this information. My last step in organize is to eliminate unnecessary spending. That is a problem, at least for me. Like I see things and I want them and I just gotta have it. But I knew that I couldn't just spend and spend and spend because what am I gonna do when I go off to training and everybody wants to go out to eat? Or when it's time for me to actually move after training, I don't have any money. So the step organized to me is the most important step. And that is a lot of people's issue, to be really quite honest. A lot of people fear the fact that, okay, I'm going to quit this job and then what? And then do I make enough money? Do it with, like I said, with all careers, with all jobs, you're in the hole at least for the first 2 weeks. With being a flight attendant, you'll be in a hole for almost a month. And that's because you're going off the training. Now, some airlines will give you a stipend, like a daily stipend, where they'll give you, $25 a day. They'll give it to you either before training, or some airlines will give it to you after training to help with your expenses. But you don't want to solely depend on the airline to help you. You want to be able to have your things together, have your money together for what you need to get. Now we went over to evaluate, to organize. My third step is to prepare. What I mean by prepare is you want to prepare yourself and make sure you're doing as much research as possible on the airline of your choice. It seems simple, but it's really not that simple, because just like an airline, I don't know, for those of you who went to college, it's just like picking an organization in college. You want to go with an airline that fits your characteristics, that you can fall in and you can blend in with. So with this prepare step, is more so you need to do all the research you can on which airline best fits your needs. Is the airline based where you want to be based? Do they have bases where you're at? Where's the training? Do they provide finance and money for training? You also want to check and see what bases that they have. Are you able to transfer within 6 months after you get the job if you don't like the base that you're in? Do they offer reimbursement for relocation? I didn't realize the airline that I was with actually has something of the sort, that if you decide to relocate, they will reimburse you for relocation. So all of these things are really important when you're looking into the career or into the airline that you want to fly with. This airline has a commuter clause. And how does it work? For example, if you don't want to move to the base that they have you based at, is there going to be a commuter clause? Or are you going to get in trouble for commuting? You also want to check to see if this airline has a union. If something happens, for some reason you're on an aircraft and something happens, you want to know, is there going to be someone that's going to back you? Or are you going to have to just lose your job right then and there? Or are you going to have to fight with the company? So all of these things are very important when you're looking for an airline, because once again, this is a complete career change. You want the airline to back you and have good policies that you agree with and that you can work with, just as well as fly for free. So like, for example, for me, when I first became a flight attendant, I started off with a regional. I didn't like what the regional had to offer. It was the lowest paying regional. And yeah, they flew me to training. They provided a little stipend. They did the basics, but I knew overall that this was not a company that I wanted to be at for a long period of time. However, but my mind was in another place, and I was so determined and wanted to be in this field that I decided that it would be best for me to go ahead and transition into that regional. And I felt like at the end of the day, I was able to get all of the experience that I wanted to get to sell myself to a different airline. To be able to know exactly what is my job description. Being a flight attendant, what am I really gonna have to do? So I went with this regional. And guess what? I got the basics. I got everything that I needed. I knew how to sell myself, and I could put that on my resume. So when I moved on, which I quickly moved on, yes, let's say in 2-3 months, I was out of there. Because my mind was focused on exactly what I wanted to do. My mind was focused on, I had bigger vision, bigger plans, and this regional was not a part of it. You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to make decisions that we really don't want to. However, it still ends up working out in the end. So now that I've shared with you all of my thoughts on how to effectively transition, leave a comment below and let me know what part of this process are you at. Because I would love to engage and share more of my thoughts with you regarding effectively transitioning from your regular career to becoming a flight attendant. Now make sure you stay tuned to my next video and subscribe, because it's going to get better and better and better and more detailed as I go into more of my experience becoming a flight attendant, applying, training, interview process, and all of these things. Thank you guys for tuning in, and always remember, don't be complacent, and to stay sassy, fly.